break. Jason Scheer joined us. Jason, did you wake up on Friday, even with all of the known of what we have with the 4 schools joining the Big 12 media days and all that ever since, did you wake up kind of Friday and just kind of like pat yourself in the back and smile because it was official the day of those 4 schools?
Yeah, I mean, I knew the day was coming, but it was still nice to see it get there. You know, it was a lot of hard work by, me reporting it, by people at schools and all that, and I think everyone was kind of excited that it finally got to that point.
A lot of people questioned you. We brought this up, and we kept having you on because we could tell that you knew what the hell you were talking about, plus our own sources could confirm either what we were reporting, vice versa, you and others. What was the worst thing that someone said to you during that time?
Man, that's a good question. I honestly, I think it was just the diminishing of credentials, and not even not believing it, just not believing it because it was coming from me,
Yep.
me specifically. Because I've worked hard. I majored in journalism and all that, and I think people locally kind of knew who I am and how I approach sources and things like that. So I think it was just it's that guy. There's no way that guy's right. That kind of it did upset me, but I think that was kind of annoying throughout the process.
Jason, now that it's official and everything's there, how do you feel about this team's readiness going into the season? This is not as much of a change as it would be for, say, Houston coming in the league last year or BYU coming in the league. Arizona was a really good team last year in a really good league. Do you think that helps them, or do you think that this just has to be looked at as a whole new thing because it's a whole new coaching staff?
Yeah, I think it's got to be a brand new start. And this coaching staff has been pretty adamant, pretty clear that they don't really care what happened last year because they weren't the coaches. And Brett Brennan has been asked a few times by national guys, local guys, about last season. He goes, look, I wasn't the head coach. And so they're approaching it as a completely new season, and they're being very careful to say, look, guys, we know you were good last year. That's awesome. No one really cares. It means nothing for this year. We're starting from scratch, and if you want to be good, you're going to have to do it all over again.
So with the early on, the attrition that could have been so much worse, what is their strength? Obviously, Fifita, McMillan, and whoever. What is their strength that maybe isn't obvious, or what is the weakness that they just weren't able to fix or at least fill the hole?
I think the secondary is one of their clear strengths. I mean, they returned almost everyone. Tacario Davis is one of the best corners in the country. They returned their starting safeties. They returned their starting nickel. They added a few guys at the other corner spot because they lost that corner. If you surprised Dr. Washington, but the guys they brought in to replace him have been pretty good. I expect Arizona's secondary to be such a strength that at times they're going to put more defensive backs on the field than I think people are used to seeing from their own defense or just watching and things like that. They're going to play a lot of formations that are deep with defensive backs. The weakness right now, it's hard to say. I would say that the depth on the defensive line isn't great. The starting defensive line is big, but the backups aren't as big. The offensive line has been banged up in camp, so they're missing a few starters, but when they're healthy, they could very well be fine, but they're kind of mixing and matching right now with the offensive line. So I think that the overall quality of the starters on both lines are good, but I would be worried about the depth should something happen to one of the starters.
Noah Fifita getting a ton of hype. What do you expect to see from him in year 2 as the starter?
He's looked great during camp. The last 2 days has been really good during camp. I expect to see a step forward. I don't know what that'll look like statistically, but his arm looks a little bit stronger, especially on those intermediate throws than it was last season. And then I think they're opening up the playbook probably a little more than Arizona did last season. A lot of it was kind of short and crossing routes and stuff like that. They're allowing Noah to go vertical a little bit more. And so I think that's probably the next step in his progression. But I don't expect a drop off. I mean, there's been good days and bad with practice when they're installing new things, and the offense is going to look pretty different than last season. So some of those struggles are to be expected, but I expect, the same Fifita from last season with the accuracy and the ability to hit open receivers and all that. And I probably expect him to take a little bit of a step forward in terms of being able to hit guys vertical.
Arizona's a part of the top 25. The coaches poll that came out today, I think 21, is that right? Is that where they should
21.
be? Is that what that? No, that I mean, I should have asked it. Is that where they should be?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I completely get it. I think people, are looking at the coaching staff and some of the guys that left, and and saying they'll probably take a little bit of a step back. I don't think it's crazy. I'd probably I'd have them a few spots higher, but I'm not like insulted by it. I think if they weren't ranked at all, that would have been kind of a misstep. But 21 is fine with me. They're one of the better teams in the conference, and I get it.
What has to go completely right for them to win the league? What can't they mess up?
That O-line, it has to stay healthy. There's not a lot of depth there. If a guy like Jonas Savannah or Wendell Moy got hurt, it would be pretty bad. And obviously they got to stay healthy with T-Mac and Fifita and all that. Defensively, that other corner spot across from DeCario, they brought in some guys. Louisville transfer Marquise Groves-Killebrew has looked good in practice, but he hasn't played a lot in games. That has to carry over. His practice ability has to carry over to games, and I think if that happens, they'll be in pretty good shape to win the league. But to me, and you could probably say this with a lot of teams, and throughout the country, if one of their starting linemen get hurt on either side of the ball, it's going to be a pretty big hit for them.
Back to the offense, you mentioned what they had done and what Dino Babers wants to do. How has Fifita reacted to that? Has he said much?
He's always going to be complimentary and always be positive, no matter what happens. That's just the type of guy he is. It is a very different offense. It's the first time we're really, in the spring, it was kind of vanilla getting guys, going with the offense and the terminology and all this. It is a very different offense than he ran last season. It's very multiple. Tight ends are a very large part of it, and there's a lot of different looks. And but Noah's always going to stay the same, and I think that's what's so impressive about him is his demeanor is always the same. If he's frustrated, he doesn't show it. He doesn't take it out on other teammates. He's very even keeled, and that's why when Arizona found themselves down in some games, or there were some games where even the Alamo Bowl, I mean, he was getting sacked quite a bit because the offensive line wasn't there, but he never let it get to him, and eventually he calmed down and helped lead Arizona in that game. And I think that's what makes him so impressive. Did
they have to recruit or the offensive line different with Babers' offense compared to what Fish and them ran?
It's a little different bit of a style change on both lines, actually. So Brendan Carroll, the offensive line coach, was kind of just hold your ground last year. And block that way. Josh Oglesby, who's the offensive line coach now, is more of, get downfield. They want to move guys back. So it's a different philosophy for sure. They're recruiting very large individuals coming out of high school. I mean, the guys they have committed are absolutely huge. There's a lot of versatility too, a lot of cross training, which is a little bit different, but it is a different style of blocking. And that's something that'll be interesting to see how these guys react.
Jason, for Big 12 fans that might be coming in to Arizona to watch a game, I know that they don't have the most intense recent history, but describe an ideal game trip to Tucson.
I think people that haven't been here will be surprised. It is a college town through and through. All of Tucson revolves around the university. And so when you get down, to the college, you're at the U of A, you go down to 4th Avenue and University where the bars and restaurants are. And it is packed before games. I mean, it is lively. Is the tailgating scene as good as, some schools in the Big 12 or the SEC or all that? No, but people still tailgate. I mean, it's still active and fun, but in game day, when you get there hours before a game, it'll be lively. And 4th Avenue is, in University, it's just fun. I mean, people do care about Arizona football. I just think that there was a time not so long ago where Arizona football was so bad that the fans checked out a little bit. And I mean, it was as bad as it gets. And credit to Jed. He brought fans back. And I know that the season ticket sales are more than they were last year. So there's going to be excitement around the program. And it's a pretty fun environment.
Jason, one more thing. I don't know if I never could find the entire article in Athlons that I saw people refer to, and even an image of a paragraph or two about Colorado inside the locker room. I don't know why. I could never find the link. Did you read any of that article, or is that just something that was a mirage?
There's a link to it, I believe. I don't know. It's hard to, that's actually a good point. If there is a link to it or not. Because I retweeted it and made a comment about it. But that guy has wrote a couple of hit pieces before on Colorado. So I don't really know if it's accurate. And I don't, look, I mean, there's so much in those articles that it's like if this stuff was all going on, you would assume a national guy would have got a hold of it with the amount of stuff that's in that article. So I don't really, to be honest, pay a lot of attention to it. I mean, I'm looking now. So there is, I did find the link. So it is in Athlon. It is printed.
Okay. Is it online?
Yeah, it's online.
Okay. All right. Would you mind sending that to me, or just I'm online with them right now. I'll find it. But I never could actually read it to kind of find out. And I had different opinions. People thought it might be a hit piece or whatever, not questioning who wrote it. I want to read it myself before I make any kind of decisions. But all right, man. Hey, your daughter, your kids are back in school. Is that right?
Yes, they went back today.
Is that a good day with their ages, or is it a sad day?
A little bit of both. The young one's starting middle school, so that's a little bit iffy for me, and the other one's already a sophomore in high school, so it's nice. So, but we're getting to the point where it goes from nice to sad real quick.
Yeah, you blink and they're gone. Don't soak it up. Soak it up.
Oh,
hey,
I will.
Jason,
sure.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. Jason Scheer, Wildcat Authority, with us on 365 Sports. I asked for